Bet anywhere with TVG.
Coming up on Wednesday, it's a big day of racing at Zia Park in New Mexico. Their program is going to be headlined by the Zia Park Derby and the Zia Park Oaks. And one of your contenders in the Zia Park Derby is Bold Conquest, trained by Steve Asmussen. And Steve joins us on the line right now. Steve, he's only 1-for-8 this year, but when he started the season, he caught a couple off racetracks, ran into American Pharoah a couple times, so we can be pretty forgiving with him there. How has Bold Conquest developed and progressed in your eyes from the start of his 3-year-old season until now?
Well, he's been very consistent as far as personality and how he trains and travels, but his races have not indicated such, which draws a little concern that he doesn't necessarily, that he needs a little racetrack. And this being his first time at Zia, hopefully he feels it's similar to the Pimlico or to Keeneland, which are obviously his best races this year.
Well, he has 12 starts. He's 2 for 12. This will be his 7th different racetrack, and he's run well at a lot of them, including Keeneland last race on the 23rd of October. He did receive some class relief, dropping back into the allowance ranks. What do you think of his performance last out?
It was exactly what we were hoping for. He did show some talent last year coming into this year, obviously with the 3-year-old, trying to get our hand in as much money as possible. But with the little relief in company last time at Keeneland, hopefully it has his confidence at an all-time high with a chance to, still collect a nice check in his 3-year-old year.
Well, since that time, he's had 2 easy works for you, some pretty typical works, at least it looks like on paper, a couple 5/8 drills and 101 and change at Churchill. How'd he bounce out of the race for you?
Like I said, he's been very consistent mentally and physically to train. Very nice horse to be around. A lot of class about him. I think that it's just hoping that he goes to the Zia surface and is able to run one of his better races.
Well, that is Bold Conquest in the Zia Park Derby. That'll be race number 7 on Wednesday. Then, Steve, you have a 3-year-old filly in the $300,000 Zia Park Oaks. That'll be race number 8 on the Wednesday card. You have Scat Means Go in there. When you have the same owner like Scat Means Go, she's been with the Robinsons for her entire career. Is there any communication between trainers when a horse is going from barn to barn? And in this case, did you talk to Henry Dominguez when this filly came back into your care?
Yeah. For Kirk and Judy, they're living in El Paso. Henry has the horses in El Paso, usually in New Mexico. They did let me run her in this race coming off of her last start at Churchill, and known Henry my whole life. And I think he's done a great job for Kirk and Judy, and hopefully it continues.
Well, we're looking at one of her better races earlier this year. This was in the Grade 3 8 Bells. She was 3rd this day behind a couple nice runners and Promise Me Silver and Callback. I want to go back to her last race, though, Steve, in the allowance event, going 7/8 at Churchill on the 8th of November. What did you think of her trip? Because she looked like she got hung up pretty wide on the far turn.
Yeah, it wasn't the spot to be on the day. Made a nice run around the turn, flattened out a little bit late. I think that learned a little bit from that trip, and I think Ricardo will give her a much better go of it this Wednesday.
Well, Steve, want to switch gears a little bit. We've been talking about the 3-year-olds in the Zia Park Derby and the Zia Park Oaks, but you have a couple talented 2-year-olds in your barn right now. I want to talk about Gunrunner, a 2-year-old son by Candy Ride. He's a perfect 2 for 2. What's next for him, and how excited are you about this guy as a 3-year-old next year?
He's a very good prospect, a lot of ability, a whole lot of pedigree, and feel that he's continuing to develop and physically has some improving to do. With that being said, he's definitely running some very good races already.
Yeah, we're taking a look at his last race. This is on October 17th. This was his first time going 2 turns, a mile and a 16th at Keeneland Racecourse, drew off by 2. And to me, he looked pretty professional this day and only his 2nd career start.
I thought he did. Had drawn 1 that day, not much pace in the race, held up for a considerable portion of the race when got a little room. Thought he showed very good acceleration. He does have a win over the Churchill track and has spent the majority of his time training there. So we feel very good about that going into the Kentucky Jockey Club.
Well, the Kentucky Jockey Club is November 28th. You also have another undefeated 2-year-old right now, and her name is Stage Play. She's a daughter by Curlin. Is she going to be possibly running on the same weekend as Gunrunner?
I do plan on running her in the Goldenrod on Saturday, the 28th at Churchill as well.
All right, Steve, thank you so much for the time. Appreciate you coming on and joining us here on TVG2. Best of luck with your 2-year-olds on November 28th in the Goldenrod and the Kentucky Jockey Club. And also best of luck to you and your team in the Zia Park Derby and the Zia Park Oaks.
Thank you.
All right, that's trainer Steve Asmussen providing us an update on some of his runners that we're going to see on November 28th at Churchill Downs, but it's also the Land of Enchantment Day. 11 races on Wednesday from Zia Park, 8 of them stakes events, and first post will get underway at 12:15 local time.